my greatest skill is knowing that I can learn something if I want to. And that if I apply myself to it and I really deeply care about it, that I will find a way to get really good at it. And I don't think you can separate that from impact. There's a beautiful quote by Bruce Lee where he said that I'm not scared of the person that has practiced 10,000 kicks one time each. I'm scared of the person who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. And that's the switch that we have to make, is that are we willing to practice this one kick, this one move 10,000 times or whatever it may be? And that to me is the difference maker. So I would say that there's a lot of strategy, because now it all makes sense, like social media, meditation, oh, that fits. It didn't make sense when I was collecting those skills. And so as Steve Jobs says, you can only connect the dots looking backwards, you can't moving forwards. And when I became a monk, it wasn't like, oh, one day I'm gonna write a book. It wasn't that, it was, hey, I think this is what my calling is. So it was a naive, innocent following of what I'm being called to do at the time, then matched with what do we do with this now that we have it as a skill, and taking a risk based on that. So I would say it's discipline.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because when I started my first business, I really struggled to believe in myself. I was making $300 a month and quit on my business partner. And the thing that saved me was watching the stories of successful entrepreneurs. They gave me strategies as well as hope and belief that just maybe I could do it myself as well. And I hope that this video here today helps you get a little bit more belief in yourself, because I still need the videos for myself today too. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jay Shetty, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is recognize your self-worth.
How in the world is someone with low confidence or low self-esteem struggling from an ego issue? And I don't know that I articulated it well enough, although it's in one of the podcasts that I've released, one of my solo podcasts, but you articulate it right on. So talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so it's an interesting concept, and it's talked about in the Bhagavad Gita, another monk text. And in the book, it talks about how like ego is demonstrated in two ways. So ego is either I am the best in the world and I think I'm better than everyone, or ego says you're the worst in the world. You're the worst than everyone. You're much worse than everyone. Or you say my life is the best and the greatest. My life is the worst, right? My life is far worse than anyone else. So the ego likes to push you to the extreme. It doesn't like to give you balance and honesty and reality. It wants to make you feel like you've got the worst life in the world and no one else understands it. No one gets that. Only you get it and you get the worst. Or you're the best and no one else gets you. You're untouchable. And people miss that. Yes. They're like, how does that make sense? Exactly like you said. But it does make sense because the ego wants to be the top or the bottom, but the top of the bottom.
Yes.
It doesn't just want to be at the bottom.
It wants to be the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah, it's got to be the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, but the top of the bottom. Right?
Very well said.
Yeah, and so we get lost in that and we don't think of it as ego. Yeah. And that's why the only antidote to either ego is self-honesty, is being honest. And honesty is, I'm good at these things, I'm great at these things, and I suck at these things, right? Like that's honesty. And we could all sit down, me and you could sit down with a list of our skills and map out what we were great at, what we were average at, and what we knew we were terrible at.
Yes.
And that's honesty. That keeps you so away from either ego. The challenge with all self-centeredness is that all you then indulge yourself in is your own pain.
Whoa, very good.
Right? You just indulge, you just submerge and like immerse yourself in pain because it's all about you.
Me. Yeah.
And I think Gandhi said it best, is that you find yourself when you lose yourself in the service of others. And what I love about that statement is that what he means by that is, and empaths get this mixed up sometimes, so I want to clarify, because a lot of people who are empaths who are listening are like, Jay, I'm always trying to help people, but then I get screwed over. So here's the answer. You're not helping people so that they can thank you. You're not helping people so that they can be grateful to you. You're helping people because you know it's the right thing to do, but more importantly, you're helping people because you get to understand and experiment and experience different parts of yourself. When I helped kids growing up in India that didn't have food and we were giving them free food, I learned so much about myself. When I was able to go and give talks that help people, or now I make videos or podcasts, you learn more about yourself when you help people. You don't learn anything about yourself when you're just sitting there filling out a quiz going, who am I? What am I? Like you don't figure, but you learn about yourself when you help people. And this is what we don't realize. I can't remember who said it recently. It was someone saying about Jeff Bezos, but they were saying that, you know, the scale at which you succeed is the depth of the problem you solve. And so even if you look at someone like Jeff Bezos, who's extremely successful, he's successful because he solved a problem that many people have. Bill Gates is successful because he solved a problem. So even if you look at monetary success, even if you look at financial success, it comes from service. Any success comes from service. A musician is famous because they're serving. They're serving you by understanding your feelings, making music. You now feel comforted, so you follow them. They have served you. Wow. So don't think of service as just charity and giving money, which are beautiful things which we all should do. But don't just limit your life to thinking, I serve on the weekends or I serve once a year. Really? You can serve every moment. This podcast is a service.
No question right
It's
now.
your service because you're serving people by giving them an alternative to just watching some trash show. But they're actually here learning from you and learning from the people that you bring on the show.
Rule number 3 is engage with other cultures.
Venturing into the unknown actually helps you know yourself better. According to researchers at the University of Southern California, cross-cultural experiences where we interact with people from different backgrounds and walks of life, our own sense of self becomes stronger. Travel also shows us that no matter how different we are, we're also the same. Adam Gillingsley says when we engage with other cultures, we start to recognize that most people treat us in similar ways. That produces an increase in trust, and that increased trust boosts our overall faith in humanity.
Rule number 4 is invest your energy wisely.
As a monk, in the 3 years you were a monk, and many people stay monks until they leave this earth, right? And I'm understanding that you're saying monks don't date. Monks are celibate. So can you refresh my memory why that is? And it's not just in one kind of monk, right? You see this across cultural different monkness.
Yeah.
So why is that? Can you remind me?
I mean, there's many different reasons, and I can't speak for anyone beyond my tradition, obviously. But I would say that the number one reason is to create a sense of focus and aligned energy. So if we all believe that we have a certain amount of energy, and the more things we add to that, the more it takes away our energy in different directions. Now, being celibate or getting into a relationship is one of those, but it's the same as having a career. As a monk, you don't have a job, right? And so it's the same reasoning where it's like, well, what if all of your energy was placed in self-mastery and self-realization, and you didn't use your energy for anything else?
Or anyone else.
Would you not have the opportunity to go deep into the self? And so it's not about women or celibacy or like, it's not about the external idea of like, some people are like, oh, well, money's bad and women are bad and that's where you stay. And it's like, well, no, it's got nothing to do with that. It's not like you don't have a job because money's bad or you don't have a partner because you know, a certain gender is bad. It's the idea that how could you limit all your distractions or how could you limit all your focuses and energy to the pursuit of self-realization? And anything above the pursuit of self-realization is seen as unimportant at that stage of life. And I think there's beauty in that. I think when I think about getting 3 years of my life to have an exclusive focus on self-realization, I would say it works.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is practice positive self-talk.
It's fascinating how everything is just a thought. I was talking to a couple of friends a couple of nights ago, and I was talking to him about the hernia surgery that I just went through. And he was saying to me, like, how tough was it? And I had a tough version of it. We were just talking about it. Some people wake up and in the next 24 hours, they're fine. It's taken me 4 weeks to feel 50% again, right? Like that's how I feel, maybe 50, 60% again.
And I know people have gone through for 12 months. And
right.
They're still healing through
process. People are still going through it. And so he said to me, he was just like, how did you not let yourself get depressed? Because like the first week I couldn't walk, and I had something called atelectasis, which is like a partial collapse of the lungs. So I couldn't breathe every 3 breaths almost. And then my wife rushed me to the hospital to ER like one morning at 3 a.m. because they thought I might have blood clots, and I didn't, thankfully. And then the second week when I started to walk, it was still like on and off pain. It was very uncertain. I then ended up getting back pain because I was on my back for so long. I couldn't lie on either side because I had it on both sides. And so then my back was like, so I was waking up at 3 a.m. every day for 3 weeks because I couldn't sleep anymore because my back was hurting. So I was walking around at 3 a.m. I couldn't sit to meditate. I was doing walking meditations. And he was like, how did you not get depressed during that time? And I said to him that for me, it was the power of my mind, and it was a story. It was like I'd lost the strength in my body for sure. But I kept repeating to myself, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm healing. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm healing. And what I was saying to him is, it's not that because I said that I was happy, healthy, and healing. Right. It's that I had a choice of a thought, which is what you're saying, a belief that I could have either believed I'm sad, I'm hurting, and it's all over, or I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I'm healing. And just as you said, it's not that belief or that thought made me better, but it's just that if I didn't have that thought, it would have been way harder to get through that pain. And so I love that, to see that in practice, what you just said, for me was huge.
Rule number 6 is celebrate others' success.
When I think about younger generations, if you grew up watching your favorite people and you knew they were all friends, how does that change the game now? Because if you're seeing your favorite people fight each other and battle it out for the crown, what are you going to do with the person sitting right next to you at school? And I think I saw that so much growing up, where I've always wanted to connect with people regardless of what we do in this space. But you saw so many people who were coming at it from the perspective of, let's see who does better. Let's see who does more. And again, I love what you said. Competition's not a bad thing. Let's not give it a bad name. But the idea that we've got to be able to hold 2 truths. We can compete and still be friends.
Still be friends.
It was all about the addiction to number one.
Yes.
It's this idea, and you'll love this. There was a study that I saw that said, because you brought up the Olympics, it sparked my brain. There's a study that I saw that said people who win bronze are happier than people who win silver, because the people who came second were this close to first.
Oh my God, yeah.
But the person who came third, they were happy. They were like, we weren't going to get first, but we got in, we got on the podium.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that podium syndrome of like, at least we got on. But the person in silver, they are mad at themselves because they didn't get number one.
Yeah.
And so that addiction to number one is so strong.
Rule number 7 is stop doubting yourself.
We either put up a facade of confidence, or we hide our insecurities, or we try and find a way to disguise the anxiety that we feel about ourselves in order to cope with the world outside of us. And I think for me, I did that for many, many years. And when I started to feel like I wanted to walk this path, the fear and doubt that came in was fear of failure. There was a doubt around if I had the skills or the ability. And just overall, I think my vision had shrunk. And you're so right. If someone asked me in my teens if this would have been possible, I would have said yes. But if someone asked me in my 20s, I would have said no. And so it's really interesting to see that stark comparison. If you asked me as a 15-year-old if anything could be possible, I would have been much more broad-minded. And at 24, I'd become much more small-minded, because you start thinking as to what's real and what's possible. And you start also looking at the people around you and going, well, where have they got to? And then you start kind of, creating a little hierarchy.
Yeah.
What we say was the word.
The comparison.
The comparison of where I am.
Rule number 8 is learn constantly.
Actually, learning can be something that gives you a sense of achievement, sense of drive, sense of momentum, and a feeling like you're moving forward and towards something. when you dabble in articles, books, podcasts, you start to feel this sense of being alive. You have something to share in every conversation. You have something to add. You are more inclined to listen, to learn more, and see how your idea develops. Confidence comes from the ability to engage in a conversation and the feeling that you're moving forward, the feeling that you don't feel stuck or trapped in a space. Learning and consistently learning can truly transform the way you feel about yourself. You start to trust yourself. You think to yourself, wow, I remember this from what I read last week. I was able to apply that idea at work today. When you start to connect the dots around what you're learning and what you're growing in, that makes you feel a sense of confidence.
Rule number 9 is grow gradually.
I don't feel like we could be stretching all the time.
Agreed.
That you could reach, but you have to recover. You have to replenish. You have to be able to rest.
Yeah.
Also as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to add to that because I know we both like alliteration, but it's like stretch, stabilize, and then forego. Like there's also what's a sacrifice, I guess. Like, but in a positive sense.
Or even surrender.
Surrender, yeah. Because I found that I definitely am shocked at my capacity with the amount of things I do today that I didn't know were ever possible. So if someone told me 10 years ago, Jay, one day you're going to do this, I would have said, no way. I can just do one thing. And we did exactly what you said. So every year I would stretch myself. Every year. And you're right. You can't just stretch every month. But every year I'd add one thing. So like first we started creating videos. And then after we started creating videos, we did the podcast. And then we did the podcast, we did our courses and programming. And then then I wrote my book. And then after that, so we stretched ourselves a little and I stretched myself a little every year, but then we stabilized. But I've also found that I've also had to let go of some things, sacrifice some things that once upon a time were really important to me, but today they're not as important. Yeah. And in order to stretch and stabilize, I had to learn to sacrifice too. And I think that's something we struggle with. Like, I think one of our biggest limitations is wanting to hold on to stuff. Yeah. Right? Like, it's like there's no space to shift away and hold on to something else if we're holding on to this. If I'm like, no, I want this to be there for the rest of my life.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is stay passionate.
That audience was amazing. Like, that was incredible. It was so much fun. I was, I had 3 hours of sleep. I had a sore throat this morning. You heard me, I was whispering. And then on top of that, it was my first time back. And I'm on such a high. Like, I'm such a high. My wife just messaged me and she said, how are you feeling? How are you doing? She knows I left early morning. And I was like, I'm just on a high. Like, I just always feel that way when I'm on stage, get to be with people, get off stage. Even the meet and greet was just, so many just beautiful humans. There was just so much beautiful energy. And I feel like what we were all starved of for the last 18 months was a feeling of love. Because everyone felt so empty that they didn't know where to give and get love from. But I'll tell you right now that the people that I just met, they had a lot of love to give. And there were thousands of them, a couple of thousand people in there who had a lot of love to give. And it just shows me that no matter how hard it's been, everyone's got love. So I feel I haven't worked on my skill set for the last 18 months of being on stage. I feel like you should never stop working on your strengths. A good example is Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, he's 36 years old. And for anyone who watches the Premier League, the guy is just phenomenal. If it comes to work ethic and refining your skill, like, my role model is Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think anyone works harder than him. I don't think anyone tries to sacrifice everything else for the art as much as him. And so that's what inspires me, that, when you do what you love, you're not complacent about it. You don't take it for granted. You actually constantly try and get better at it. Then I realized that even though having the skills was one thing, but then having something you were passionate about to talk about, that's what changed my life. We've all been programmed to say, oh, your strengths, they're fine. They're good the way they are. But why are you not performing at this? And so the one way to know your strengths is to ask yourself, what do you do that you feel the most confidence doing? And it could be something as simple as I'm great at organizing birthday parties. It could be. Like that may be your skill, right? That may be your strength. Or it may be something like I'm really good at putting on makeup. Or it could be that I have a great sense of fashion. It could be any of those things. And if you don't know it yet, you can also do an exercise where you sit down with a colleague, a family member, and a friend, because you need people from all areas of your life, and you ask them, what do you think I do that I excel in, that I stand out in? Or if you could trust me to do one thing in your life for you, what would that one thing be? And when you ask that to people in a reflective way, really asking for that presence, you might be surprised by what they say. And that's such a powerful question to ask, because someone may actually say something like to you, like, Jay, I think your greatest strength is just knowing what to say to me when I most need it. And you may think, well, that's not a strength you can do anything with, but it is. It is a strength that you can do a lot with if you are okay with accepting that. Of course, I want someone to say to me, oh, Jay, you're an athlete like Cristiano Ronaldo, and you could play football and get the Ballon d'Or and win all these trophies, but that's not my reality. And so I feel that that's the place that I would start with strengths. And there was a great study done on the healthy, wealthy, and wisest people in the world. And they were asked, if you could invest in what you're good at, you're average at, or what you're bad at, where would you put your money? And so if you take 100%, how would you divide that as a ratio? And if you ask this, I want everyone who's listening and watching at home right now to do this exercise. And you may write down 33, 33, 33. You may write down 40, 40, 20. You may write down 10, 10, 80. Whatever you write down, the most healthy, wealthy, wisest, successful people on the planet will say theirs is 100, 0, 0 or 80, 10, 10. They go all in on their strengths because they know that if they go all in on their strengths, they can become exceptional at it. Now, here's the caveat. When it comes to your hard skills, focus on your strengths. But when it comes to your soft skills, focus on your weaknesses.
Now you got to tell me which is which.
Yeah, so hard skills are things like Excel, math, product design, using a video camera, script writing, speaking. These are all hard skills in the sense that they're very clearly defined, very tangible. You can really measure them. It's almost like a skill that's measurable. Your soft skills are like emotional intelligence, listening, compassion, empathy. These are all soft skills or considered soft skills. And those are where you focus on your weaknesses because they can actually end up tripping you up while you're trying to become the best at doing the hard skill. So you may be the best videographer in the world, but if you don't know how to listen to your community and your team, then no one's going to want to work with you. And so to me, that's the missing link, that we're actually the other way around. We put all our emphasis on getting better at our weaknesses and our hard skills, and we think that because we're empathetic and good people, that will be enough. And it doesn't work that way.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Sadhguru, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
So every creature, from a worm, insect, bird, plant, tree, everybody, all of them are trying to be full-fledged lives. If one sees what's happening beneath the earth in terms of the root systems, it is an enormous